Now we're going to be talking about arthropods. Arthropod literally means, feet or legs that have joints. Arthro means, I don't even know how that happened. Arthro means joint and pod means foot or leg. So these are animals that have got jointed legs. They have true coeloms, and the arthropods are a tremendously successful group of animals. We should be very, very grateful that arthropods are not as smart as octopuses, or we'd all be in trouble, right? Let's talk a little bit about arthropods. I wish I knew more about arthropods. They're a very large group of animals. There's a lot of diversity. So we're just barely dipping our toe into this discussion. It is the most successful phylum, and by that we mean there are the most number of species on the planet of animals are different types of arthropods, and they're found everywhere. There are even arthropods, little flea-like hoppy things that live on snow. Snow. Okay, well, they don't actually eat snow. They eat like algae or something that lives on snow, but still, that's remarkable, right? Now, arthropods all have exoskeletons. Exoskeleton. Exo means outside. Anything in science that's exo is like, the exit sign says go to the outside, right? Exoskeletons are skeletons on the outside. That has got some pros and some cons. The biggest advantage of an exoskeleton is that it protects you. You can't just poke the kidney of a lobster, for example. So that's an advantage. The disadvantage of exoskeletons is it's a little more challenging to grow. If you are an animal with an exoskeleton, you need to grow, form the exoskeleton, then you keep growing and your exoskeleton gets tight, and then you've got to shed the exoskeleton so you can go to the next size. And that leaves you with periods of time when you are very, very vulnerable. So pros and cons to having an exoskeleton. Oh, another pro is for the amount of muscle tissue that they use, they are very, very strong. So that's another advantage of an exoskeleton. The different groups that we will be talking about are crustaceans. Crustaceans are things like lobsters and shrimp and crabs. We will talk about arachnids. Ooh, creepy. Those are things like spiders and scorpions. We will talk about millipedes and centipedes. We group them together. They're technically different. And then we will talk about insects. And you might think, oh, aren't millipedes, centipedes, and arachnids insects? No, they are not. They are actually different. And more species of these animals, arthropods, than any other phylum. Oh, and by the way, with mammals, more species of bats than any other animal group. Crazy, right? Okay. Arthropods, segmented animals with specialized segments and appendages. This idea of segments, when we were talking about the annelids, I told you that segments allowed evolution to create really complicated organisms. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the insects. Alrighty. So let's start with the arachnids. Okay. Arachnids are things like spiders. Arachnids typically are going to have 8 main appendages. Spiders do have 8 legs. But the scorpion, you can see, has got 6 legs plus 2 that it uses as pinchers. Something like a dust mite, these things that live in your pillow and in your mattress and stuff like that, technically also an arachnid. Ticks, those things that you might get after you go for a hike or find on your dog, those also are technically arachnids. Now, arachnids, you can tell, are quite diverse. Some of them are microscopically small, some of them are very, very big. Man, there is a spider in Australia that is just crazy large, like this size. It is just so they've got a range of sizes. Some of them are venomous, like a scorpion. A lot of them are not, like a dust mite. So there's quite a bit of diversity, even among the arachnids. One thing you can say is there is no metamorphosis. No metamorphosis. Now, we will discuss the concept of metamorphosis in a little bit, but these guys don't do it. When they hatch out of their eggs, they are little tiny scorpions and little tiny spiders, okay? So no metamorphosis. The next group of arthropods are the crustaceans. So these are crabs and lobsters and crayfish and shrimp and barnacles. All right. So crustaceans, these guys almost always live in water, almost always. I'm going to show you an example of the exception to the rule. They also have no metamorphosis in these guys either, which means when they hatch out, sorry, I got lost. Metaphor. What? No wonder I got lost. No metamorphosis. Morphosis. Lord knows what I was about to spell. Okay, no metamorphosis in these guys either. So, shrimp. Did you know that there is a shrimp that has a modified claw that can move so fast and make such a strong movement that a typical aquarium, like even a typical strong, like 50-gallon aquarium, it can just break the glass. And it moves that arm so strongly, it creates this like sonic wave that knocks out fish, and then it eats the fish. I know, that's weird, right? And then these guys, barnacles, when we were talking about the bivalves, I said that there are some things that are bivalves, like oysters, that attach themselves to piers, for example, or to the rocks next to piers. But some of you might have been thinking about barnacles on ships. And barnacles on ships are not bivalves. They're not even mollusks. They are this type of arthropod. They are crustaceans. When these guys are just hatched out, they look like little teeny tiny shrimp. And then they swim to someplace great and they settle their shrimpy backs down and glue their little backs to the rock or the boat. And then they turn into these things and become filter feeders. So even crustaceans have got a diversity of lifestyles. But what they share are jointed appendages, exoskeletons, no metamorphosis, typically aquatic. An exception to the rule of being aquatics are these things. I don't know what you learned to call them as a kid. These guys here, some people call them sow bugs, some people call them pill bugs. These are actually crustaceans, not insects, not centipedes, not millipedes, no, they are crustaceans that live on land. And how do you know? Well, if they've got a whole lot more than 8 legs, so they're definitely not an arachnid. They don't do metamorphosis, so they're not an insect. They have gills to breathe with, and the gills to breathe with, and this also the structure of their intestinal tract is what makes them a crustacean. So they need to stay pretty moist, but they are a land-based crustacean. And that's just another picture of barnacles, which you would look at them and go, oh, that's got to be a bivalve. Nope. Tube worm? Nope. This could remind you of a tube worm, though, right? Oops, sorry. Yeah, that should remind you of a tube worm because they are using their gills to filter feed like a tube worm does, but no, that's a crustacean. Our third group of arthropods are the millipedes and the centipedes. Make sure you know this factoid about millipedes and these two factoids about millipedes and centipedes for your quizzes and for the lab final. Factoid number one, millipedes are vegetarians. They eat decomposing plant material and, of course, the bacteria that are thriving on that plant material. Centipedes are predators, right? That's thing number one. Thing number two, millipedes have got two pairs of legs. That's supposed to say legs per segment of the body. And by the way, for those of you keeping track, that means 4 legs per segment of the body. Right? Centipedes have 1 pair of legs, which means 2 legs for each segment of the body. So those are the 2 things you should know about them. Centipedes are often venomous. They have got a very powerful venom. Millipedes are harmless. So before you pick one of these up in the forest, make sure you check how many legs per segment. And if it's got 4 legs or 2 pairs of legs per body segment, you can go ahead and pick it up. Otherwise, do not touch it. There is a centipede that actually catches and eats bats. So this is a video, a YouTube video. You know Sir Richard Attenborough, who does all of those wildlife videos, those nature videos? He's got one about a centipede that catches and eats bats, and it'll catch a bat and inject it with poison, and the little bat's heart stops, and boom, the centipede eats it. All right? So they are predators. Now, our fourth group of arthropods are the insects. Most of these have got a 3-part body. What are the 3 parts? They have got a head, they have got a thorax, and they have got an abdomen. Most of them have 3 parts to their body. Not all of them, some of them have 2, but let's look over here. That's the head, that's the thorax, that's the abdomen, right? So 3-part bodies. Most of the things that you think of when you think of insects, most of them are insects. Here's a praying mantis on the left. There's a moth in the center. Off to the right, that is a beetle. Most of them are. Now, insects are an example of the way evolution has been able to use the idea of a segmented body plan to create really complicated and diverse creatures. So let me give you an example of that. In terms of the sort of toolkit that every segment of this body has, each one of them has a toolkit so that it could be specialized to grow legs, or to grow wings, or for that matter, to grow eyeballs, right? And if you have got many parts on your body that can grow an appendage, then it allows natural selection to ignore some weird mutations and allow other mutations to go forward. Let me tell you what I mean by that, okay? Let's just imagine, for the sake of argument, that this group of grasshoppers has a weird mutation so that this segment of their body, it is going to grow an extra pair of appendages that are going to be limbs, and they're going to be something like a leg, okay? Well, now, originally, those would be just weird-looking grasshoppers. I mean, it already has hoppy legs. These are the hoppy legs, and it's got walky legs. It's got those. But now it's got this extra set of legs that it doesn't really need, but they're not really in the way. Well, if they're just hanging around for generation after generation, and generations for insects are in a matter of days, not decades like it is with humans, then it could be that a second mutation hops on board that allows that limb to develop like a little hand on it. Okay, there is no grasshopper that's got hands on it, okay? But it could have another hand on it. Well, okay, now it's gone from an appendage that was not bad, but not good. Now it's become something that could be useful. Now, like I said, we don't have any grasshoppers that have got hands, okay? But all of these little appendages that make up little parts of their mouths, those are all technically appendages. That the basic toolkit for making this leg in terms of genetics is the same as this leg. Once we had 4 legs to walk around with, we could grow another pair of legs just for hopping. Grasshoppers mostly walk around. They don't hop that often, right? So this body structure that we really see with the arthropod allowed for specialization of appendages. So like on a lobster, some of the appendages are antennae, some of them are their mouth parts, some of them are their claws, some of them are their legs. On a grasshopper, some of them are antennae, some of them are mouth parts. They don't have claws, but they could. They could have limbs that are just for injecting venom, like a spider, right? They could. That's why this particular organization of segmentation that you see in arthropods allows random mutations to hang around for long enough to become useful mutations. Insect anatomy, pretty darn interesting. Remember that insects go through metamorphosis. Now, that metamorphosis is more dramatic in some insects than it is in others. But if something goes through metamorphosis, it is either an insect, or we will be talking next week, it could be an amphibian. Amphibians do metamorphosis too. This is a YouTube video about butterflies. And the advantage of metamorphosis is a couple of things. One thing is the fact that the larval stage, the young stage of an animal, is able to feed itself. That means that the mother, when they're laying their eggs, that they don't have to invest a lot of their body energy into just a few eggs. They can invest a tiny bit of energy and make thousands of eggs. So if you're a mommy butterfly, you're not growing just one baby butterfly. You're laying just hundreds and hundreds of eggs, and then they hatch out into little caterpillars. And those little caterpillars, as soon as they hatch out, they're feeding themselves right on the plant that mommy laid the egg on. And then they can feed themselves. So it minimizes the maternal investment into each individual offspring. That's an advantage. Another advantage of metamorphosis is that the babies and the adults, they eat different food. So they don't compete with each other, right? Baby horses eat the same thing as adult horses. Okay, that's not a problem for horses. But for insects, the insects eat the leaves of plants. Butterflies don't eat leaves on plants. Butterflies live off nectar. So they don't compete with each other for the same resources. They live a different lifestyle. So just the advantages of metamorphosis. That's it for this lab. There are so much interesting stuff for you guys to look at today. I know it's getting late in the semester, but remember the goal that you have when you started taking this class. Keep in mind that learning is so much more effective, hours of study per amount learned, if you bring some curiosity to what you're doing. And if arthropods and octopuses don't make you curious, holy cow, I don't know what would. You can do this, you're almost there.